So what let me explain you the scenario that I'm trying to do here. So what I have is a 3-tier app deployed in NSX, our favorite app, which is the web app DB, with 3 logical switches connected to a distributed logical router, and that logical router connects to an edge gateway, NSX edge gateway, and this NSX edge gateway connects to the physical world, which is the physical router. What I've done here is I've configured OSPF between my edge 1 and edge 2, and they exchange routes over OSPF. However, I'm using BGP when it comes to the edge 2 beyond to the physical network. And what I expect here is that my physical router sends a default route down into my edge 2, and this edge 2 then redistributes the default route into OSPF into edge 1. And I should have connectivity to my VMs, right? So this is a new application being deployed, and I get a call saying, hey, we have deployed this app, but it doesn't have connectivity yet. Can you troubleshoot that? So what I'm going to do here is, let me just switch the console here. Okay, so I'm basically trying to say, let's just do a ping to web SV01, and I see that this particular laptop or this particular RDP session is outside the physical router, next to the physical router. I can't really go there. What I'm going to do is open up my console to NSX Manager. Now this is my central CLI console, and what I'm going to do here is use central CLI commands. So the first thing I'll do is show edge all. And it will tell me that there are 2 edges here, edge 1 and edge 2. One is the distributed logical router, as we saw in the diagram, and I have ESG1, which is my edge services gateway. And the status looks green. They have version 6.2. Everything looks good. What I'm going to do next is show edge dash 1, and then let me show you what other options are there. So we have a lot of options that comes up when we want to query for the data, runtime data from that particular edge. I'm going to do show IP route, which is our favorite command to look for routes. And then what I see here is that I see connected routes, which are our 3-tier web logical switch, app logical switch, and database logical switch, and the transit network which was connected. So 4 routes are present. I do not see a default route in my router, which means that I need to basically look at the next hop to see what's happening, what's cooking out there. So all I need to do is up arrow, change this to 2, show IP route to the edge 2, and then this is basically going to get routes from my edge. So without even having to change the console, I was just able to get the routing output from this. Again, this is just an example of routing. We can do a lot more things with central CLI. So in this case, what I'm seeing is, I see OSPF routes coming from DLR, or the router which is connected to the southbound, but I don't see any default route coming from the physical router, right? Because I can see O there, which is the OSPF routes, which are E2. So what I'm going to do next is just say show IP BGP neighbor. And by the way, you don't have to type the entire word neighbor, it just works. And I can see that the BGP neighbor state is idle, which means that it's not an established state. There are no routes being exchanged between my physical router and my logical router. Let me troubleshoot further. And what I'm going to do here is bring up the console for my NSX edge here. If you're familiar with NSX, you basically have a tab for NSX edges. You can go here. I can see those 2 edges deployed, the DLR and ESG. I'm going to go to the ESG and just check for routing configuration for BGP. The routing here, let me just bring this thing down so we have more real estate for showing it. So I can see some BGP configuration is there, the state is enabled. One thing I notice is that my AS number is wrong. You can actually go into the log messages. You can actually show logs from this central CLI to get the logs from the edge itself. What I see is the local AS is actually configured wrong. I'm going to fix this. It's really a configuration issue here. So once I do the change, let's publish the changes into the system. And okay, that is done. So now let's go back to our central CLI and just repeat the command that we executed last. And we can see that now probably the state is now established, which means that now after fixing the AS mismatch thing, we are able to basically talk to my physical router. I'm now getting routes from it. So let's just validate if the routes on the edge are edge 2, which is the ESG where we fix the BGP configuration. Are we now getting a default route? And I can see that on the top, there is the B, which says 00, which is the default route for the router. So that means I'm getting it. But that doesn't mean anything because it needs to still redistribute into the OSPF. So I'm going to basically go here, change it to edge 1 because I'm now checking on the DLR. And we see that the default route has now been learned into OSPF. Now at this point, basically we can just try to do a ping. That's the ultimate test of connectivity, right? We say, network engineers say, hey, let's do a ping. Everything works, we clap, right? So